Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We uncover the hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket change, and today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing cases of modern coin collecting history, a 2016 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary Lincoln penny, that has shocked collectors and numismatists alike by being valued at an incredible $634 due to a wide array of errors and mistakes during its minting process, and by the time we unravel every little detail about this penny, you'll never look at loose change the same way again, because while the face value is just 1 cent, the story behind this coin tells a tale of rarity, oversight, minting mishaps, and the sheer enthusiasm of collectors who chase imperfections with a zeal that transforms flawed metal into financial gold. So buckle up as we travel into the fascinating world of the 2016 Lincoln penny, a coin that's worth far more than what it was intended for, and one that continues to rise in value thanks to a cocktail of dramatic die errors, planchet anomalies, double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, and a myriad of rare variations that only a trained eye or a lucky finder would spot. Starting with what makes the 2016 penny unique compared to other years, the 2016 1-cent coin was produced in massive quantities by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with bullion struck, and at first glance, it may seem indistinguishable from other modern pennies, bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Union Shield on the reverse, and the mottos "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 2016 stamped in clear font. But amidst this sea of copper-plated zinc, a few error coins slipped through that defied the quality control systems and became instant hits among collectors, and among these are coins exhibiting a double die obverse, DDO, a striking error where the hub imprints the design onto the die more than once but misaligned, causing noticeable doubling in key areas such as the word liberty or the date itself, and collectors have gone wild over 2016 pennies that show dramatic doubling, especially when it is strong enough to be visible to the naked eye, sometimes appearing as shadow letters or fuzzy outlines that look like ghost images behind the main text. And if you happen to come across a 2016 penny with such features, you may be holding a small fortune, as some of these specimens have fetched hundreds of dollars at auction, particularly those in uncirculated condition or graded highly by third-party agencies such as PCGS or NGC. But that's just the beginning, because another notorious error involves the off-center strike, where the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process and results in a portion of the design missing, which ironically makes it more valuable as the missing features increase the rarity, and depending on how dramatic the misalignment is, some off-center strikes are minor, while others are as much as 50% off. The value can vary from $20 to several $100s, and a 2016 penny struck 40% off-center with a visible date can easily push into the $200 to $400 range, especially when it's in excellent condition. And these coins are prized not just for their monetary worth but also for their visual appeal, looking almost like art pieces due to their asymmetry. And then we have the rare clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin's edge is literally clipped off during the cutting process before it is struck, and when these clips are crescent-shaped and do not affect the date or major design elements, they can add significant value because collectors often seek odd shapes and anomalies, and some 2016 pennies with clean clipped planchet errors have been recorded selling for over $150 depending on size and preservation. But another aspect that has made certain 2016 pennies highly collectible is the presence of die cracks and cuds, which are raised lines or blobs that form when the die used to strike the coin becomes worn or cracked, and on 2016 pennies, notable examples include die cracks that run along Lincoln's head, through the lettering, or across the reverse shield, and some coins even show massive cuds near the rim, which collectors nickname with terms like Horned Lincoln or shield drip depending on placement. And though these errors might appear subtle to the untrained eye, they are highly desirable in the hobbyist market because each one is unique, a fingerprint of minting imperfection, and some of these cud or die crack errors have auctioned for $80 to $200 depending on their size, visibility, and location on the coin. And if that's not enough to stir excitement, let's talk about transitional errors and experimental planchets. Although rare, there have been whispers in the numismatic community about 2016 pennies struck on improper planchets, such as those intended for foreign coins or older compositions, and these errors are exceedingly rare but have been verified in past years, like the infamous 1983 copper penny or the 1943 bronze cent. And though no major transitional planchet 2016 penny has yet made national headlines, some experts speculate that a few may exist based on suspicious weight measurements, magnetic properties, or coloration. And any 2016 penny that significantly deviates from the standard 2.5 grams weight should immediately raise suspicion, especially if it weighs closer to 3.1 grams, which would suggest it was struck on an older bronze blank, and such an error would explode in value if authenticated, potentially exceeding the $1,000 mark. And let's not forget the misaligned die errors which occur when the obverse and reverse dies are improperly aligned, causing one side of the coin to appear off-center while the other remains centered. And in 2016 pennies, this error can lead to what collectors called beveled rims or partial collars, which can drastically affect the coin's value depending on severity, and these can sell for $50 to $250, particularly when the misalignment is dramatic enough to be seen without magnification. And then there's the fascinating world of struck-through errors, where foreign materials like grease, cloth, or wire accidentally come between the die and the planchette during striking, resulting in a distorted or partially missing design. And 2016 pennies with struck-through grease errors often show missing portions of letters, faded dates, or smeared images, and though common grease errors may only be worth a few bucks, more dramatic struck-through cloth or wire pieces can easily jump to $100 or more, especially when the texture of the foreign object is clearly visible in the coin's metal. And now we enter the realm of repunched mint marks, another highly collectible error where the mint mark, such as the Z for Denver, appears to have been stamped more than once in slightly different positions, creating a shadow effect. And though this was more common in earlier years before mint marks were machine-applied, some 2016 pennies do exhibit signs of repunched or distorted mint marks, and when authenticated, these coins often bring in premium prices, particularly when the doubling is clear and accompanied by other anomalies. And for those who specialize in minor varieties, even things like wide AM versus close AM spacing in the reverse inscription United States of America or minor font variances in the date can be significant, especially in modern issues where changes in dies are less common. And all of these factors contribute to a growing market where even recent 1-cent coins can become hot commodities, and collectors love to pair these errors with other attributes such as high grades, full red color designation, and low contact marks to maximize value, meaning a 2016 penny with an error and a top-tier condition, say, MS67 road or better, can fetch hundreds. And this convergence of rarity, error type, and state of preservation is what drives prices to astonishing levels like $634 for a coin that was never meant to be anything more than spare change. And the story doesn't stop at just finding one, because many coin roll hunters and change checkers have made it their mission to locate more of these rare 2016 pennies, combing through bank rolls and jars for just one example that could be their ticket to a big payday. And as more of these errors are discovered, catalogued, and shared online, the awareness continues to grow, pushing demand ever higher, especially among younger collectors who are just now realizing that modern coins are not immune to profitable mistakes. And this growing demand ensures that the value of high-error 2016 pennies will likely appreciate with time. And when paired with provenance, photos, and third-party grading reports, these coins become part of a collector's narrative, adding emotional and historical weight that only boosts their market appeal. And it's not just about what went wrong at the mint, it's about the story these coins carry, how they evaded detection, survived circulation, and ended up as prized possessions in someone's display case. And the 2016 penny, while born from an era of high-tech minting with increased precision and fewer mistakes, still managed to produce enough bizarre anomalies to keep the numismatic community buzzing. And so whether it's a bold double die, a dramatic off-center strike, a quirky die crack, a clipped planchette, or even a possible transition metal fluke, each error tells a story, and each story adds another zero to its value. And if you're lucky enough to find one of these, don't spend it, study it, weigh it, examine it under magnification, and consult with an expert or send it in for grading, because it just might be the start of your coin collecting journey or the key to your next financial breakthrough. So keep checking your change, treasure your finds. And if you found this deep dive into the world of the 2016 penny worth $634 because of its incredible errors. Next, 1986 D1 cent USA coin. Ordinary coins transform into extraordinary treasures, and where 1 cent can sometimes be worth hundreds of dollars simply because of tiny flaws that slipped past the mint's watchful eye. And today we're uncovering the astonishing truth about the 1986 D1 cent coin, a coin minted by the Denver Mint that originally had no expectation of becoming anything special. Yet due to its incredible array of minting errors and anomalies, certain specimens of this penny are now valued at an impressive $598, and in this deep and detailed exploration, we're going to walk you through the fascinating reasons why this humble coin has become a numismatic sensation and how a coin with a face value of merely 1 cent can end up being worth hundreds, maybe even more in the right condition and under the right circumstances, because when it comes to error coins, every detail counts and every mistake can multiply the value exponentially, and the 1986 AD penny is a perfect example of how complexity in the minting process can give birth to numismatic legends. Starting with the basics, the 1986 AD penny was part of the post-1982 generation of Lincoln cents, meaning it was struck on a copper-plated zinc planchette weighing 2.5 grams rather than the earlier copper-based cents which weighed 3.11 grams, and while billions were produced, over 4.4 billion from the Denver Mint alone, it's precisely in this massive production scale that mistakes found their way into circulation. With enough variation and flawed coins slipping out to create a rich field of collectibles, and one of the most significant types of errors found on 1986 AD pennies is the double die obverse or DDO, which occurs when the coin die receives multiple impressions from the hub that are not perfectly aligned, resulting in visible doubling on elements like the date, the word liberty, or "In God We Trust." And in some of the most valuable 1986 DDDOS, the doubling is strong enough to be seen with the naked eye and presents a bold and unmistakable shadow effect that stands out dramatically against the rest of the design, and because the DDOS are relatively scarce for this year, they are highly sought after by collectors and can drive the value of a single coin into the hundreds, especially if the coin is also in high mint state grade like MS65 or above with a full red color designation which signifies that the copper plating hasn't dulled or turned brown over time, and if doubling errors weren't enough, another error that catapults the value of the 1986 AD penny is the off-center strike, a misalignment between the planchette and the dies that results in part of the design being missing or skewed, and depending on the percentage of misalignment, these coins can range from mildly interesting to dramatically valuable, especially those that are off-center by 50% or more while still retaining a visible date and mint mark, and collectors absolutely prize these high percentage off-center strikes because they are rare and strikingly visual, looking more like a blob of metal than a penny but still bearing identifiable features. And then there are the clip planchette errors which occur when the metal sheet from which blanks are punched overlaps or misfeeds, causing partial or curved cuts in the planchette, and these errors often create a distinctive crescent-shaped clip that is clearly visible on the final coin, and when a 1986 D penny displays a significant clip while preserving its key design elements, such as the date and mint mark, its value can soar, with many examples known to sell for over $150 depending on condition, and even more captivating is the die break error known as a cud, which appears when part of the die actually breaks off, leaving a void that produces a raised blob of metal on the coin. And these cuds can appear on any part of the coin but are most visually impactful when they obscure letters or part of Lincoln's portrait, and the larger and more obvious the cud, the higher the value, with large cud errors on 1986 D pennies sometimes selling for upwards of $200 or more. And then we get into even rarer territory with transitional planchette errors, which involve coins being struck on planchets intended for another year or denomination. And while most 1986 AD pennies are struck on standard copper-plated zinc planchets, there have been instances where collectors have discovered anomalies in weight, color, and composition, including coins that were mistakenly struck on leftover copper blanks or even foreign coin planchets, and these transitional errors are extremely rare but incredibly valuable, with authenticated examples often selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially when they are graded and certified by reputable numismatic services. And another intriguing error that affects the 1986 AD penny involves die polishing and die wear, which can cause certain design elements to appear faded or missing altogether, such as missing letters in Liberty or weakened Lincoln features, and though these can sometimes be mistaken for post-mint damage, when the cause is die deterioration or overpolishing, it adds value instead of subtracting it, particularly when it's combined with other errors or appears in coins that are otherwise in excellent shape. And let's not forget the extremely rare but talked about struck-through errors, where foreign material like cloth, grease, or wire interferes with the strike, leaving behind bizarre impressions or areas of flattened metal where design elements should have been, and when these struck-through errors are clear and dramatic, they add a visual oddity that is highly desirable, and values for such errors can range from $50 to $250 or more depending on the size and impact. And yet another category involves the repunched mint mark, or RPM, where the D mint mark was struck more than once slightly off from its original position, and although RPMs were more common in earlier years, a few examples have been identified on 1986 AD pennies and can be highly collectible when they display bold repunching and are in good condition, and even minor anomalies such as wide AM or close AM configurations in the reverse inscriptions, although not officially documented for 1986, are closely examined by variety hunters who constantly look for new and undocumented types. And these minor variations, when confirmed as new varieties, can spark a frenzy in the collector market and rapidly increase the coin's worth. And aside from all these incredible minting anomalies, one of the most important aspects of increasing a 1986 AD penny's value is its condition, because even a coin with minor doubling or clipping can skyrocket in value if it is in pristine condition, meaning no scratches, no contact marks, and a full red luster that looks as if it were minted yesterday. And coins graded MS66 or MS67 Road have sold for over $100 even without major errors simply due to their condition rarity. So when a high-grade coin also includes an error, the combined factors dramatically boost the price, and that's how you get coins like the 1986 D penny selling for $598 and beyond. And let's also discuss how provenance and market timing can impact value when an error coin gets featured in a major auction or is written about in numismatic journals. Its visibility goes up and so does demand, and as more collectors seek to complete error sets or fill gaps in their Lincoln Cent collections, the competition for rare and flawed examples becomes fiercer, driving up prices even more. And as the coin market expands globally with more online marketplaces and international collectors joining in, the reach of rare coins like the 1986 D penny extends far beyond the United States, meaning that demand is no longer just regional but global, increasing scarcity and value. And if you're a new collector or even just someone curious about the loose change in your pocket, the 1986 D penny is a coin you absolutely want to keep an eye on, and you should inspect every cent that bears that date and mint mark carefully using a magnifying glass and a digital scale to check for correct weight. Then compare your findings to known varieties and consult error guides or forums where passionate collectors share their discoveries, and who knows, you might just stumble upon a rare variety that hasn't been documented yet, adding a piece of numismatic history to your collection and potentially creating a bidding war among collectors eager to own a unique piece. And the beauty of error coins is that no two are exactly alike. Each one tells a story of how even the most precise machinery and careful oversight can't eliminate the element of human or mechanical imperfection, and it's in these imperfections that value emerges, where something unintended becomes something treasured. And the 1986 AD penny, with its many potential errors and surprises, is a perfect representation of that principle. So whether it's a dramatic double die, a bold off-center strike, a noticeable planchet clip, a chunky cud, a transitional metal fluke, a repunched mint mark, or an unusual coloration or weight inconsistency, each of these possibilities transforms an ordinary penny into a collectible artifact, and when combined with condition, authentication, and the right audience, it's entirely possible, and even likely, that a 1986 D 1-cent coin could be worth $598 or more in the hands of the right collector. And if this kind of content excites you and fuels your passion for coin collecting, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories about coins that went from pocket change to auction block superstars. 1973 D 1-cent USA coin that dives deep into the world of rare and valuable coins where everyday pocket change can hide incredible treasures. And today we bring you the unbelievable story of a 1973 D 1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny that many people might ignore or spend without a second thought. But what if we told you that one of these pennies, specifically the 1973 D version, has sold for as much as $480 due to a series of unusual minting errors and flaws that slipped through the strict quality control systems of the US Mint and turned this ordinary 1-cent coin into an extraordinary collector's item? And in today's deep dive we're going to explore every single detail about why and how the 1973 D penny became worth big money and how errors, anomalies, variations, and minting oddities can elevate a low-value coin into a high-dollar collectible. And once you understand the significance of this coin, you'll never look at spare change the same way again, because one simple oversight during the minting process can produce a rare piece of numismatic history that has collectors across the world eager to pay hundreds of dollars. And it all starts with the basics of the 1973 D Lincoln penny, which was struck at the Denver Mint and features the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse with the inscriptions "I in God We Trust" across the top, "Liberty" on the left, and the year 1973 alongside the small D mint mark on the right, while the reverse showcases the Lincoln Memorial. With United States of America and E pluribus unum above it and 1 cent below, and at a glance it may appear like just any other penny from the era, but under closer inspection and in the hands of keen-eyed collectors, certain examples reveal significant errors and varieties that dramatically enhance their value, and the most well-known and widely sought after of these errors is the double die variety, specifically the double die obverse, DDO, where doubling occurs during the hubbing process and leaves behind duplicate impressions of design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust. And while not every 1973 AD penny exhibits doubling, those that do, especially with strong, visible doubling, are incredibly valuable, particularly when certified by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC. And coins with dramatic doubling that are also in high mint state grades can easily bring in hundreds of dollars at auction, sometimes even surpassing the $480 mark depending on the clarity of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin, and the thrill of discovering a double die 1973 AD penny is only the beginning, because there are other types of errors that also contribute to a coin's rarity and value, including off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank is not properly aligned between the dies during striking, causing the design to appear off-center, and depending on how far off the strike is, especially if it's around 50% off and still shows the date and mint mark, this error can significantly raise a coin's worth, with some off-center 1973 AD pennies commanding prices over $200 and, combined with other anomalies, easily pushing near or beyond the $480 range. And then we come to clipped planchette errors, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to an error in the cutting process before striking, resulting in a distinctive crescent-shaped clip, and when this clip doesn't obscure key design features like the date or Lincoln's face, the coin becomes even more desirable to collectors who seek unique-looking pieces that break the standard mold of uniform circular coins, and clean-clipped planchette 1973 AD pennies in mint condition have been known to fetch well over $150 and can climb much higher when coupled with other traits like die cracks or full red luster. And another fascinating category of error involves die breaks and cuds, which appear when a section of the die used to strike the coin breaks or is damaged, leaving behind raised metal blobs or shapes on the surface of the coin where details should be, and these errors are both striking and rare, with cuds appearing near the rim or cutting through parts of Lincoln's portrait or lettering, and the larger and more noticeable the cud, the more valuable the coin becomes, with some 1973 D pennies with significant die breaks or cuds being sold for hundreds of dollars to collectors who specialize in these unusual variations. And speaking of unusual variations, the 1973 OD penny has also produced examples with repunched mint marks, RPMs, a type of error more common in earlier coinage but still found in the 1970s, where this D mint mark appears to have been punched more than once in slightly different positions, resulting in a shadowed or doubled appearance. And when clear and dramatic, RPMs are not only eye-catching but also highly collectible. And 1973 D RPMs graded in high mint states have shown up in auctions with prices exceeding $100 to $300. Especially when they are also full red and well preserved. And then there are the lesser known but equally fascinating struck-through errors, which occur when foreign materials like grease, cloth, or even wire get between the die and the planchette during the striking process, leaving behind textures or impressions that obscure parts of the design. And these errors are unique in every instance because the material that caused the error determines its final look. And struck-through errors that are large or dramatically alter the appearance of the coin have been highly valued by error collectors, often ranging from $75 to several $100 depending on how much of the design is affected. And in a few remarkable cases, 1973 OD pennies have been found with more than one error, such as an off-center strike with a die crack or a clipped planchette with doubling. And when errors stack in this way, the value skyrockets because the coin becomes even more rare, like a hybrid anomaly that combines multiple flaws into one highly desirable piece, and those are often the coins that exceed the $480 benchmark when sold in online marketplaces or live auctions. And collectors are always on the hunt for coins with a combination of visual impact, clear minting anomalies, and solid grades. And speaking of grades, the overall condition of the 1973 D penny plays a massive role in determining its value, because even with a dramatic error, a coin that is scratched, corroded, or heavily circulated will not command top prices, whereas one that has been preserved in mint state condition, especially MS65 or higher and designated with a red, road, luster, can significantly boost the final value. and a double-die coin in MS-67 Road, for instance, is a dream for many collectors and could easily sell for several $100s on its own, while one with just average circulation wear might only fetch a fraction of that, and this is why grading is so important in the world of coin collecting. And why collectors often invest in having their coins certified by professionals before listing them for sale. And another important aspect is the growing interest in Lincoln cents among younger and international collectors, who are helping to drive up demand and create more competition for rare varieties. And with the rise of online platforms like eBay, heritage auctions, and other numismatic sales channels, rare era coins like the 1973 D penny are now more visible and accessible to a global audience, which increases competition and pushes prices higher, especially when a coin is documented with clear photos, provenance, and certification. And if you're someone who enjoys searching through coin rolls, pocket change, or inherited jars of old coins, then the 1973 D penny is definitely one to watch for, because it could be hiding valuable flaws that are easily overlooked unless you know what to look for. And if you find something unusual, whether it's a bold double die, a heavy die crack, an off-center strike, or even just a strangely shaped edge, you may be holding a treasure worth far more than 1 cent, and in some cases these coins have even been featured in numismatic journals and online forums, adding further interest and boosting their perceived value among the collector community. And remember that the thrill of coin collecting isn't just about finding old coins, it's about discovering the unexpected, the rare, the imperfect, and the 1973 D penny is a brilliant example of how something so ordinary can become so valuable because of the exact kind of mistake most people would never notice. And if all of this has sparked your curiosity and excitement about checking your own coins or beginning your own journey into the fascinating world of numismatics, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode where we reveal the incredible stories and hidden value behind coins that most people take for granted.